Alright, I'll cut to the chase. Mario 3D Land speedruns are insane! This is the most underrated 3D Mario speedrun. Most people out there haven't seen it and aren't familiar with it, but a huge minute barrier was just broken in this game with this awesome new Any% world record. I'll explain all of the intricate details to you, plus I have some other surprises in store. Stick around! Before moving on, I need to talk about this video's sponsor. Sponsors allow me to do this full time, and without them, there wouldn't be any videos. That being said, today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is a free-to-play, multiplayer action game with a huge scale. You can take part in dynamic battles by land, by air, or by sea, in locations all around the world. And the vehicles you can operate are from all different ages, spanning an entire century. I like that you can switch between multiple modes of combat, or stick to your favorite. Each machine has distinct battle features, and you can customize them all visually as well. Plus, you can use advanced military technologies like guided missiles and smoke screens, for example. There's also a recent update to the game called Ninth Wave, featuring new fighter jets and a unique branch of Hungarian aviation. They've also worked really hard to make the water graphics look as good as possible. If you're interested in trying War Thunder, it's free to download for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox using the link in the description. All new players, or those who haven't played in the last 6 months, will receive special bonuses, 100,000 Silver Lions, the Eagle of Valor Decorator, and more. And if you like mobile gaming, check out War Thunder Mobile, available for free on iOS and Android. Alright, let's jump into it. This is the Any% world record by Pro Noah in 52:57, the first and only 52 that has ever happened in this game. This is the first new minute barrier broken since Zelda Cubed got a 53 5 years ago. The record was hovering around the mid-53 range for a few years until Noah went on an absolute tear over the last several months to push for this legendary 52. And here it is! This run incorporates a lot of the newest strategies, collects some unexpected power-ups, and there's just so much cool stuff to show off and explain for you. I'm going to cover the full Any% world record, and then there will be some extra things to show off at the end, so look forward to that too. This is going to be one big celebration of this game and this awesome speedrun that a lot of people haven't seen. Okay, let's dive into it then. The run starts with a 1-minute cutscene where Bowser kidnaps Peach, shocker, and then we're into 1-1. First things first here, Noah immediately collects a Tanuki leaf. This power-up is the staple of the run. The Tanuki suit is really good for multiple reasons, which we'll soon see. Now, you'll notice Noah going out of his way to collect these star medals. We need 100 of them to beat the game. In the Any% route, or in other words, when playing the minimum number of levels to beat the game, we pass by 109 star medals, so we can skip the 9 slowest medals. Otherwise, we'll be grabbing them all. Anyway, I think it's kind of neat that they managed to make the premier power-up of each game the star of the speedrun too. Catsuit is amazing in 3D World, or like the cape in Mario World. New power-ups have been consistently very good in the speedrun, which is just fun. But alright, fun facts aside, Tanuki is super good in this game. You'll come to see that more and more throughout the run. We see some of what it can do here at the end, where he flutters right over to the flagpole. And yeah, that's 1-1. Overall, a pretty clean stage. Let's go back through it now and break some stuff down. First, this main movement technique he's doing is called a twirl jump. Or at least I call it that. It doesn't really have an official name. The manual describes rolling long jumps, which look like this. If you crouch, you can roll. And if you do a long jump while rolling, you do a rolling long jump. This is better than a normal long jump. It has 30 speed instead of 27, so it's about 10% better. When you have the Tanuki suit though, he doesn't roll. He does this twirl attack. And then if you input long jump, he does this twirling long jump. There are also a few slightly different variations of twirl jumps. There's kind of some advanced versions of it, but yeah, here I compared all of them, and in terms of speed, they're really not that different. But they can help with spacing. So just know that throughout the game, Noah is doing extra work, switching up his exact twirl jump method to fit the situation. Alright, there will be a few other movement mechanics brought up in other levels, but for now, let's touch on what happened at the very end. Here, Noah doesn't just flutter to the pole. You can see he slides off the edge and then starts fluttering. This is a crouch boost. For some reason, whenever you crouch and start sliding, you get a burst of speed. Maybe it just made the slide feel nice, or whatever the case may be, it's a thing. For the first couple frames of sliding, you have more speed than normal. And if you slide off a ledge during that burst of speed, you can maintain it. Plus, fluttering with the Tanuki suit lets you maintain it for a long time. Essentially, what you want to do is land from a long jump right next to an edge, so you can crouch slide off of it and get the boost. The closer you land to the edge, the more speed you'll have when you slide off. Now, one thing to note is you can't flutter out of a twirl jump, only a regular long jump, which again is 27 speed. A good crouch boost will get you fluttering at 35 or so speed, or sometimes even more. Spoilers, stay tuned. Anyway, now that you know about crouch boosts, watch and you'll see Noah doing them anywhere he can throughout the rest of the run. At this point, I've been talking for kind of a long time now, and we're just in 1-1. But naturally, there are a lot of things to cover up front. Let's move on to 1-2 now though. To start, I'm just gonna let this level play out. Enjoy! Alright, did you see some crouch boosts in there? I'm sure you did. This level's full of them, and a lot of tight movement. First, Noah sneaks under this spike ball. It's actually very easy to get hit by if you don't do it just right. And then we have this awesome crouch boost plus bounce off of a Goomba to keep going farther. Another way to extend the speed from a crouch boost is bouncing off of enemies. Alright, now, next up, this part right here. He long jumps and grabs this medal. This probably doesn't look significant, but here, I have to go on a tangent about directions in this game. A lot of people who play this walk away saying, you can only move in 8 directions. I have heard this many times about this game, but it's not true. You can move in a lot more than 8 directions. It's just kinda hard. Here's why. The range of possible angles looks something like this. There are zones which will snap you to the main 8 directions. But there are pockets in between with a bunch of possible angles. So yes, while it is tricky, you can go in a lot more than 8 directions in this game. Angles working this way, among other things, makes a lot of this speedrun way harder than it looks. So many simple looking things are actually really hard to do consistently. Like even just jumping up these platforms in 1-1, I don't know, I really can't express how tricky a lot of little things in this game are, unless you've tried speedrunning it yourself. But I will do my best to explain what I can. So back to 1-2. Let's look at this long jump right here. Noah goes at an angle between upright and straight right. He grabs the medal and then goes back down at an angle between straight right and down right. This is just one tiny spot in the run here, but so easy to mess up. If you're a little too high or low on either of these angles, you can easily get snapped to a direction you don't want. You'll go straight and land on the plant. A lot can go wrong just off of holding some simple angles here. This is one example of precision in this game that's just completely invisible as a viewer. Anyway, moving on. At this point, Noah does a crouch boost off this ledge, and another crouch boost off of a later ledge, another crouch boost off of this block, and finally, he goes back here to collect the last star medal. After that, he does an angled wall jump. More about those in a couple levels from now. But basically, he did a really good wall jump up here. And he takes the classic 1-2 secret, running over the top of the level, to find a warp zone. He takes this orange pipe, which skips the rest of World 1, and goes to World 2. So that's the first world done. Jumping right into 2-1, at the start, there's these binoculars to look into. If you zoom all the way in and look at Toad, he throws a star medal down for you, and it ends up way over here. So in the speedrun, we need to move quickly to the binoculars, look at Toad briefly, and then make our way over there. Now here's what Noah does. He's gonna exit as soon as Toad throws the medal, and then watch this. He takes a really unexpected jump over this direction, so he can build up speed with crouch boosts and move faster toward the star medal. This looks pretty interesting, but it actually went a little wrong. He missed a crouch boost right here, so he had to pivot his line a little bit. Here's how it's supposed to look. Normally he'd get more speed here, and then do another one off this power-up block as well. Mario gets so much speed if you do it all right. And here's why. The speed you gain from a crouch boost compounds. It multiplies by about 1.2 each time. So if you chain several in a row, you build a lot of speed. It's kind of like BLJs in Mario 64, but more limited on how many you can do. Imagine if you could do a ton in quick succession like in Mario 64. Yeah, TASes in this game can actually do crazy stuff. There hasn't been a full game TAS, but a few levels have been messed with, and it looks insane. I'll show some more clips like this at the end of the video. Anyway, yeah, Noah didn't quite get the boosts he wanted, but he still got some speed, bounced off this bounce pad up to the medal, and then made his way into this pipe. The second star medal for this level is in here, which he nabs quickly with a wall jump and tail swipe. I guess I haven't mentioned it yet, but Mario can do a tail attack with the Tanuki suit, which is useful for hitting enemies, but also for grabbing star medals. Alright, there's one star medal left, and then he can beeline to the flagpole. He has this unfortunate bonk from a tiny ledge on the way up, but recovers quickly with a crouch boost off this fence, and grabs the third star medal. Now, here, we're going to see the real power of the Tanuki suit. He climbs straight up here, thanks to the Tanuki suit's ability to flutter and repeated wall jumps up this corner. That takes him straight to the top and skips bounce pads, a warp box, this bridge, a whole bunch of stuff. Again, there are a lot of mechanics to explain up front, so I'm sorry I can't let this thing play for very long without stopping to point out all these intricate details. It'll be less like that the farther in we get. But I do have one more thing I have to point out here. When he jumped off this fence, normally you can't make this jump up. He's only able to make this because he does a twirl boost. If you do a twirl attack, release the crouch button, and then jump out of it, you get a higher jump than normal. I don't know why that's the case, but it helps make jumps like this. And yeah, finally, again, these wall jumps are just way harder than they look. It's not too bad to just get up here at all, but to do it this fast, man, you don't understand how easy it is to have improper angles, or for Mario to just start fluttering at this corner and not sliding on the wall at all. Anyway, that's 2-1. Let's move on to 2-2. Here is another difficult and intricate level. 2-2 has these green panels you're supposed to activate and then wait for them to roll out to help you get through. Noah will be doing none of that. At the start, he does a long jump flutter to skip the first one and grab a star medal. Again, he does another really nice angle while fluttering here. He moves on with just some good platforming to skip the next set of panels. And now, time for a crouch boost. This time, he keeps crouching for a while to fall down more before starting to flutter. And here, he flubs this next jump a bit. Most runners will just long jump onto here and then wall jump up. But Noah is doing the highest level strat and trying to make it up from the bottom. He barely didn't get out from under the ceiling though, so a little mistake here. Anyway, he grabs the second star medal, and here comes the big part. Check this out. This is such a cool skip. It looks awesome, and if anything goes wrong here, it's just death. There's a lot that goes into pulling all of this off. First, you may have noticed that he turns the camera here. You can do this with either the D-pad or with these buttons on the touchscreen. But if you think about it, how do you push any of these buttons while controlling Mario and actively long jumping and wall jumping and stuff? Noah does this by using his right pointer finger to claw the touchscreen while doing everything else. These wall jumps he does are harder than they look too. These are angled wall jumps. The sooner you wall jump after Mario starts to slide on a wall, the steeper of an angle Mario can jump off of it. It's like every frame spent sliding on a wall reduces his facing angle into the wall jump. In order to make this skip, you need some good angled wall jumps. The earlier you jump, the better angle you'll get, and the more likely you'll get far enough to reach the blocks. But it's easy to mess up and not get an angled wall jump, and then you just die. So yeah, you're dealing with that on top of turning the camera. The reason for turning the camera is to load this flying block earlier. That gets it moving earlier, so he doesn't have to wait on it at all and can immediately long jump to it and off of it. Now, he again does a nice angle upward toward this Goomba to bounce off of it and reach the end. Just so satisfying. Again, here if you get a straight right or upright angle instead, you die. Plus, if you're just a little bit off on anything, this can happen, where you take damage and bounce on the Goomba. A really weird interaction that can happen in this game. But yeah, an awesome looking level. Noah did the skip beautifully, and once outside, he finds the hidden 3rd star medal. One more crouch boost toward the flagpole, and that's 2-2. On to 2-3. Well, actually, there's this mystery box on the overworld to go into first. These appear every couple worlds. Inside, you defeat some enemies, and you're rewarded with a star medal. These boxes are required before moving on to the next level, or else they wouldn't be worth going into. But it is nice that the medals from these will allow us to skip a few extra throughout the run. Alright, with that done, actually on to 2-3. One fun thing about this game and this speedrun is each level is very unique in its layout and mechanics. So here we have 2-3, which is this huge sprawling level. It also introduces propeller blocks, which you're supposed to use to navigate through the air in order to traverse this stage. Noah's not really gonna do that though. Right at the start, he immediately goes down and to the right to find this spindle thing, which is called a tail wheel. Hitting it with the Tanuki tail takes you upward, and the 1st star medal is up here. Now, what Noah is about to do is one of the last major mechanics I need to explain. Hyperspeed. It turns out this game does not have a cap on sideways speed. If you long jump and hold sideways, you just keep building speed forever. There are a few levels like this where you can fall for a long time, and we'll be taking great advantage of this to build up a lot of speed. Unfortunately, we do have to stop our momentum to collect some star medals here, but that's alright. Noah gets a propeller block and long jumps towards this one, and even builds up some sideways speed as he propellers into it. For the next medal, normally you're supposed to lift up another platform, but Noah does a twirl boosted jump and hovers over here to get it faster. Now, Noah gets hit by this Goomba on purpose to ditch the propeller block. You can't do twirl jumps when you have a propeller block, only regular long jumps. But he wants to do twirl jumps because they're faster. And there we go, that's 2-3. On to 2-4 now. This will be the first level where there's not some major mechanic to explain. There are these platforms which flip to red or blue each time you jump, so that's interesting, and we do need to be very calculated here. At this part, I really like the bounce off of this bee. After that, Noah wants to do a crouch boost off of this ledge to flutter over to this medal. But he just overshoots it. He recovers quickly though, and makes his way over to this rainbow note block. It sends you up to the sky for a star medal. This medal is one of the slowest in the route, but it's just barely fast enough to be worth grabbing. Once he falls down out of the sky, he does a crouch boost and flutters over to this flying block, which is a stepping stone to reach the final star medal. Then he flutters over to the flagpole, and that's another one down. Alright, this next level will be our first airship. These are at the end of each world, and they're usually auto-scrollers. Not auto-scrollers. Those are slow and boring. But not in this game, because you can go ahead of the auto-scroll. That's right, in the speedrun, you have to go ahead of the screen and play these levels blind. Rather than being boring and trivial, this makes them some of the most difficult levels. There are a couple caveats here though. The main one being, star medals aren't loaded when they're off screen. So if you want to do a whole level blind, you might have to miss some star medals. The other important detail to know, which actually helps a lot with the star medal issue, is that there are some places on these ships where the camera will jump over to you. These serve as checkpoints, which not only let you see where you're going again, but also let you collect nearby star medals. Alright, anyway, here's what 2-ship normally looks like, outside of a speedrun. When you get over here a ways, there's a warp box, which takes you back here for a star medal. After grabbing it, you can warp back. After waiting a bit longer, there's a star medal up here. And then at the end, there's this lower platform with the last star medal hidden down here. Alright, with all of that in mind, let's watch how Noah does it in the speedrun. As you saw, there are multiple places in this level where we get the camera jumping over to us. The first is back here at the first star medal. The way Noah got back here is actually by jumping off this bullet bill launcher platform. And something else you wouldn't realize is when he goes back here, he long jumps straight to the right, then flutters upward toward the platform. The reason for this is the camera will jump farther ahead the farther to the right you are. If he just went straight to the platform, he'd have to wait longer for the camera to scroll. Now, instead of taking the warp box back, he just long jumps back over. Then he goes to the right, gets on this block, and turns the camera. The star medal is just off screen here, barely loaded in now, thanks to turning the camera. Finally, Noah falls down to the lower deck where the last star medal is, and the camera jumps to him one last time. This is a really tough level, and it's increasingly difficult the more aggressively you play it. Any runner of this game will tell you that landing on the platform at the beginning is just extremely hard to do consistently. After going in the pipe at the end, we're met with the first boss fight of the run. This is Boom Boom, making his first return since Super Mario Bros. 3. Frankly, this boss is kind of an auto-scroller himself. Between each phase, he'll spin around the room in his shell. But we do have some interesting ways to optimize the fight still. There's two ways Noah can damage him here, either by stomping on his head or swiping him with his Tanuki tail. The tail swipe knocks him down though, which is a longer animation than if you stomp on his head. So for these fights, you want to make sure to stomp on his head. For the first 2 hits at least. After the 3rd hit, Boom Boom will fall over and be defeated. And this time, his animation is shorter if we knock him down ourselves with a tail swipe. Using the correct method to damage him on all 3 hits saves 3 seconds on just this fight, let alone our future encounters with him. Alright, once outside, Noah jumps to the flagpole, and that's the end of World 2. Let's keep moving on to World 3. Starting with 3-1, we have yet another really unique level. It's a big tower with a bunch of rooms inside to climb up. But the outside is very interesting as well. We start with a cannon to shoot out of. Noah shoots up here, flutters and wall jumps to land on this platform where the first star medal is. Now he's going to come around to the back side of the map. The main reason to come back here is because there's a star medal in this hidden tunnel. But also, there's a propeller block hidden back here too. He's going to take advantage of it to climb the outside of the tower very quickly. He enters the final room of the tower, flies past everything, and grabs the final star medal that's way up high. The flagpole is outside on top, and we're done here. Now for 3-2. 3-2 is the only real water level in the run. Naturally, that means it's pretty slow at certain parts. There are still some interesting strategies here though. Noah does a crouch boost here to move quicker before ground pounding into the water. He also makes sure to ground pound over this box, which cuts his ground pound short and he can move forward sooner. Now he's going to long jump and sink down to go inside a tunnel. There's a star medal hidden in here, which he grabs faster with a tail swipe. After swimming out of there, Noah does what's actually a fairly precise jump up here. Normally, Mario won't make this jump, but if you let him bob up out of the water first, he'll be higher when he initiates the jump, and he can make it. The rest of the level after this point is mostly just slow swimming. He does try and avoid tail swiping these enemies where possible, because when you hit enemies or certain objects with your tail, it actually makes a couple frames of lag each time. Alright, here we have our first example of skipping a star medal. There's a star medal in this hole down here, inside a pipe. It's probably obvious why this one is skipped. It takes a while to swim in here, go in the pipe, and come back out and everything. This one is actually only barely slower than a couple others we've already seen though, but yeah, it just barely doesn't make the cut into the route. Alright, finally, at the end, normally you're supposed to wait for this big eel to get out of the way, but you can swim right next to the wall and avoid getting damaged by it. Noah wall jumps to collect the last star medal, and that's 3-2. One of the less flashy levels, but one of the things I'm going to show you after we finish talking about the speedrun are new strategies that have recently been found. And 3-2 actually has the coolest strategy that has just been found. So yeah, look forward to that at the end. Alright, on to 3-3. In this level, Noah first makes a beeline back here to raise this platform up and go in this pipe. The first star medal of the stage is in here. Then, outside the pipe, there's a very straightforward section. Literally, it's just a long straightaway with a star. Noah goes to the side to avoid hitting bees and making lag. Once again, this isn't a very flashy section, but again, I recently found a new strat here, which is insane, so we'll see that at the end as well. For the next part, Noah comes up here and does a twirl boosted jump to get just enough height to make it up in 2 wall jumps. He gets star medal number 2 and crouch boosts over to these binoculars. There's another toad, which will throw a star medal to us. Normally, it lands over here, and then you take a warp box to get across the gap. Noah has other plans. After looking at Toad, he does a crouch boost, catches the star medal out of the air, and flutters straight over toward the flagpole. And that's gonna wrap up 3-3. Let's now move into a quick overview of 3-4. The first star medal is over here. You raise these blocks up to reach it. Then, you're meant to come over to this warp box, traverse some tight ropes, and there's another rainbow note block with a cloud stage for a second medal. After that, there's more tight ropes, another warp box, you bounce up here, and there's some more tight ropes. Then there's some tight ropes, then there's some more tight ropes, and we've got some tight ropes. Then over here, there's more tight ropes. Now, the third star medal in this stage is actually very tricky. You wait here until a flying block shows up and gives you a ride over to it, and then a warp box takes you to the end. Alright, now that you've seen all that, here's how Noah does this stage. He makes his way over to the first star medal, raises the blocks the minimum amount, including a tail swipe on the way up for the final hit. After grabbing the medal, he long jumps and flutters straight to this warp box. The cloud stage star medal is way too slow, so we're going to skip it. After bouncing all the way up here, Noah's gonna go straight to the third star medal. He grabs it without waiting for the block, and enters the warp box. This part is way harder than it looks. Here, Mario has to be low enough to grab the star medal with his tail, but high enough that his head still touches the box. He makes sure to start Mario's flutter at the correct height to make this possible. And thanks to that, he's able to avoid the very slow block ride. And that's the end. Alright, for the next level, it's time for another airship. This one is very unique in that it's not an auto-scroller. This is the only one in the run that isn't. So Noah can go as fast as he wants. Except there is still a limiting factor here. These spike pillars. At the start, you have to wait for this one to retract before proceeding. And at the end, there's a bridge with a series of safe spots you're meant to wait at to avoid them. Alright, let's see how Noah handles this. He picks up the first star medal over here, and then goes forward as soon as he can when this thing retracts. That part's just a matter of timing. But now for the rest, Noah has gotten super good at this level, and figured out the fastest ways to move through here. Like this jump, for example, is really tight to make. Mario will often bonk. But if you nail this jump and all of this tight movement properly, check this out. You can barely make the cycle to this spot without getting hit. Now, because he made it here, he just has a brief pause before he can continue on. He does a crouch boost to flutter to this star medal, and again, clear the last jab of these spike pillars with a pretty small margin. Really satisfying to watch. Alright, it's time for another Boom Boom fight. This time, it's on a moving floor. Makes it a little trickier, but not too bad. Noah always waits in the corner after each hit, so Boom Boom has a consistent path around the room, and he knows right where he's going to end up. After defeating Boom Boom and coming outside, he's not quite done yet. The third star medal is hidden over here at the bow of the ship. Noah grabs it, goes to the flagpole, and that's one more world down. Okay, now we're in World 4. 4-1 is interesting with a nice big open area at the beginning. And there's a propeller block hidden above this tree over here, which we'll definitely use. Noah starts by making his way toward the first star medal, which is hidden over here in this tunnel. Once he has that, he crouch boosts towards the propeller block and does this wall jump and jump off the tree to grab it in very quick fashion. Now, this propeller block kinda breaks the rest of the level. Up here, there's another rainbow note block for a cloud stage, but that's yet another star medal we're going to skip. And now here, there's a cannon you would normally go into to fire through this star medal. But Noah just uses the propeller block to grab it faster. Finally, there's this spiraling tower at the end. He can quickly traverse it thanks to the propeller block, and that's 4-1. Next up, we've got another mystery block on the overworld, which will have one more star medal for us inside. Or 2? This one looks crazy. It also has an extra Tanuki leaf in this block, which Noah grabs to keep in reserve. But wait, why is this one all special and gold? Is it always like this? No, you can get a lot of different mystery boxes here, so it seems like it's completely random. But it's actually very simple to control. What mystery boxes you get is based on the color of your Mii's shirt. No, I am not joking. When you create a file, you select a Mii as an avatar, and the color of that Mii's shirt will determine what mystery boxes you get in your playthrough. Some of the mystery boxes you can get are these special gold ones with 2 star medals instead of 1. Noah uses a Mii with a black shirt so that he will always get this golden box in World 4, and he's able to skip an extra star medal somewhere. Why are the mystery boxes based on your Mii's shirt? I don't know. It's kind of interesting and funny though. Alright, on to 4-2. Another very unique stage. It's super vertical. There's lots of wall jumps and tight platforming as he climbs up. Now, this next part's a little hard to see, partly because an inky piranha plant made a mess on the screen. But yeah, I'll slow it down so you can see Noah does a twirl attack through these Goombas and into a crawl space. A star medal is hidden down here. And then another one is going to be hidden on the next floor above. You're meant to hit this red block to make more blocks appear which help you reach it. Instead, Noah has this seamless sequence where he bounces up and does a twirl boosted jump plus wall jump to reach it. Now he climbs the rest of the way to the very top of the level, and he does some additional wall jumps to find this hidden passageway. Again, we have a classic 4-2 warp zone here. This takes us to World 5, so that's World 4 done already. World 5 introduces a brand new power-up to the series, the Boomerang Flower. We're gonna go right past it. But spoilers, we will be seeing it again. Noah gets the first star medal in this pipe back here. Once outside, coming up, we'll see some thwomps with Tanuki tails. That's kind of the theme of this game. Tanuki leaves blue all over, and lots of enemies have Tanuki tails. But anyway, this is such a fun strategy right here. He bounces off the tail of the thwomp to get up here quickly and get this star medal. And then over here, he does a really beautiful angled wall jump to the door. Alright, now inside, we've got what is essentially an auto-scroller. A big, long elevator section. There will be some interesting things happening here though. Like a boomerang flower appearing out of nowhere? Where did that come from? Let's listen to the audio for a second. You can hear the cry of some enemy being hit just before the flower shows up. Normally, there's a boomerang brother that drops down. If you defeat him, he drops a boomerang flower. For some reason, right when he's about to drop down, if you swipe your tail at the spot he's dropping to, he'll just get hit immediately. Maybe some kind of default position he spawns at? I don't know why that happens. But I mean, it's not anything consequential to the speedrun. What is consequential and very interesting is that Noah actually picked up the boomerang flower. He then immediately switched back to Tanuki by using the super leaf he had in reserve. Now he's got the boomerang flower in reserve. I wonder what he'll be using it for later. Alright, now I'll skip ahead a bit on this elevator ride. At one point, there's a star medal off to the side that Noah grabs. Then, as the tunnel narrows, Noah starts a wall jump chain. Up and up, back and forth, and gets out of the elevator early. Again, this is another really delicate wall jump sequence, but it saves nearly 6 seconds. Up top, there's a cannon which you use to shoot over to the flagpole at the end. It's actually slightly faster to skip it though, and get over here with Tanuki. Bouncing off of a cactus to get up here is fun. A very nice 5-1, and now he's 12 seconds ahead of his previous world record. he needs to save 8 more to break the 53-minute barrier. Alright, now for 5-2. This level is actually a Zelda reference. You've got the top-down view, and these spike rollers similar to ones you see in games like A Link to the Past. And if there was still any doubt, the second star medal is hidden behind this gate, which you need to light torches to open, and... Yep, definitely a Zelda reference. Unfortunately, this star medal is too slow to get in the run. No fun Zelda jingle. Oh well, we'll still see Noah navigate some tight passages. And I love the twirl jump down here after grabbing the first star medal. Then he does a crouch boost off this fence for extra speed. And now he has to wait just a moment for this platform to rise a bit before jumping up. The final star medal for this level is going to be at the end of this room. He'll grab it and quickly get in the door. In this room, he long jumps past some pillars of fire, and then comes out a door at the end to the area where the flagpole is. Alright, 5-2 done. Now it's time for 5-4. This will be one of the coolest stages. First, Noah twirls down through this narrow passage. And now, he's gonna pull out that boomerang flower from earlier. He long jumps and bounces off a mole to get up here, and then uses a boomerang to grab this star medal faster. He then continues navigating through this maze to where the next star medal is. And after that, there's going to be a really long drop right here. Normally, it takes quite a while to fall, and you slam down when you reach the bottom. Here's another fun mechanic though. If you hold crouch, there doesn't seem to be a cap on falling speed, so you just fly down. And no slam at the bottom. Noah does this to save time here. Alright, now right over here is where the magic happens. The main reason we got the boomerang suit. Watch this. Did you catch that? It was so slick. The boomerang went through the wall here and got this star medal. Normally, you come up and around, all the way down, get the star medal, and then have to go all the way back up. The boomerang suit allows us to skip all of that. This was originally found by a glitch hunter appropriately named Glitchy, who figured out that if you backflip and throw a boomerang near the ceiling, it can go through the wall. Noah later found an easier and faster method. If you start throwing and then switch power-ups in the middle, the boomerang can go through the wall. Well, actually, it's going around the wall. Mario has to be right next to the wall for this to work. What happens is his arm sticks out to the side, and I guess with the power-up swap, the boomerang just immediately deploys from where his arm is. So it's out of bounds and goes around the wall. One of the coolest strategies in the run for sure. And it saves about 7 seconds. I love that the boomerang flower gets used here, the other power-up introduced in this game. There was just the perfect situation for it, and it's one of very few glitches that saves time in the speedrun. Okay, moving on, 5-5 is going to be another gimmick level, another propeller block level. But quite a bit different than 2-3, we have a lot of propellering up to do this time. One thing to know about propeller blocks is they can go 5 different heights, and it's actually quite precise to get the exact height you want. There's a really big window to release the button and get the smallest height. Or, of course, if you want the biggest propeller, you just keep holding the button. But there are 3 heights in between, each of which is frame perfect. So if there's one exact height you want for some of these jumps, you have to release it frame perfectly. Too late and you lose a good half second from taking extra time to come down. Too early and you could fail to get up to a ledge, and maybe even die. Anyway, let's take a look at how Noah does this level. He gets the propeller block immediately, and then there's going to be a tight jump coming up. He has to jump off this cloud before it lowers too much, and do a twirl boosted jump so he has just enough height to get up here. He collects the first star medal, and then throughout the level, he's going to be doing long jumps into propellers. This lets you propeller through the air at long jump speed, which is really nice, and it only works when you have a Tanuki suit. Alright, he's going to collect the second medal here soon, and then there will be a really big trick coming up as he collects the third. Here we go. He long jumps off sideways to build some hyperspeed. The perfect amount of hyperspeed, so he can go straight through the medal, and then also continue on a path straight to the flagpole. There's a pretty delicate balance here of angle and speed to make this work. It might not look like he's going that fast, but if you compare it to how fast you'd go on a normal long jump, you can see it's a considerable distance farther. So yeah, this was a well-executed hyperspeed long jump down to the flagpole. There were a few mistakes earlier in the level you may have noticed. He kinda lost speed here jumping off this cloud. I think because he jumped too soon after landing. It's kind of a silly mechanic that happens in this game sometimes. Soon after that, he made a mistake here, mistiming his jump up to this ledge. Total, he lost a few seconds from these mistakes, which actually makes this one of the biggest places to save time in the run. That should show just how clean this run is generally. Alright, on to the next level. Oh, never mind. I guess it's time to take a break. This is kind of a funny message. It comes up every 30 minutes while playing the game. While doing attempts, runners actually have to completely close out of the game now and again to avoid getting it twice in the same run. Anyway, okay, we're on to the last level in World 5. This time, it's actually not an airship though. Sometimes you get a castle level instead. This castle stage is mostly just going to be some good platforming, with good angles and don't touch the lava. Here, Noah does a cool strat, bouncing off of this draglet enemy. He bounces toward the right to trigger the thwomp to come down ASAP. Once it rises slightly, he can jump up to the star medal, and then he long jumps down here to the second star medal. And shortly thereafter, the third star medal is right here. He grabs it, and then he's going to flutter across here to skip a good portion of the pathway. And at this point, Bowser comes in to say hi. Yo, what up? How this fight with him works is it's pretty scripted. When you approach this spot, he always jumps over to you, growls, and then does a tail swipe attack. But Noah is going to run ahead so fast here that Bowser's kinda just busy doing this tail swipe attack for a while, and he doesn't catch up until Noah reaches the button. That drops Bowser in the lava, and GG, we win. What? Oh no, we didn't actually defeat Bowser. This is actually some cool lore right here though. Bowser was an enemy in disguise. It's a throwback to the original Super Mario Bros., where most of the Bowsers are other enemies which have been transformed into Bowser. You know, the original lore of these games is that the Koopas are an evil turtle tribe, infamous for their black magic. So it also makes sense that it's a Magic Koopa that is staging as this Bowser. To add to all of this, Tanukis are a Japanese folklore creature, and they use leaves to transform. So here we have a beautiful marriage of lore. Fake Bowser, made by Koopa black magic, and Tanuki leaf transformation. This is also why in Animal Crossing, Tom Nook, or should I say Tanuki, sells you furniture which is stored as leaves and then transforms into furniture in your house. So yeah, fun facts. Anyway, in the meantime, Noah beat World 5. Let's go on to World 6. Starting with 6-1, of course. Noah grabs a star medal that's hidden to the left at the start, and then, well, I'm not gonna lie, this part is not that interesting. Another straightaway with just a bunch of long jumps. The second half of 6-1 is awesome though. We get a tight long jump off this fence, and then Noah goes at the perfect speed here where this Cheep Cheep jumps in and he bounces off of it to get on this block and get the star medal as fast as possible. Then it's just some more long jumps and fluttering over to the flagpole. Alright, next up is 6-2. It's an interesting stage, tight passageways and dodging spikes everywhere. He goes in a hidden tunnel for the first medal and then twirl attacks through this pokey. The next room is supposed to be an elevator ride down, followed by a room where you wait for the floor to rise upward. Noah instead just falls down the elevator shaft thanks to Tanuki, and then wall jumps up to skip waiting on the floor. He grabs the next star medal in this tunnel, and then it's time for Elevator Sip, a trick with a typo immortalized in its name. With really fast movement, you can get on top before this elevator goes up, and wall jump up from there. He collects the final star medal, and then uses his trusty Tanuki suit to just blaze through the rest of the terrain, narrowly dodging spikes and other hazards. The flagpole is right outside, and that's another level down. Alright, 6-3 is our first ghost house of the run. Inside, you're supposed to wait on this teleporting platform to go to each of these 3 different rooms. Noah just wall jumps up here instead. He hits this P-switch to make coins and ultimately a star medal appear. Navigating this piano is a lot more awkward than it might look. When you warp out, you appear really high up and fall down. Noah uses this height to his advantage and immediately flutters to go straight to the next room. In this one, you again spawn high up and are supposed to fall all the way down. I haven't explicitly mentioned this yet, but you can use Tanuki Flutter to break out of these scripted jumps Mario does when coming out of pipes and warp boxes. Noah does that here to get up on top much earlier than normal and grab this star medal straight away. Finally, he flutters to the third room and then once again immediately flutters to go straight into another star medal. With all 3 collected, he warps to the final room of this stage. The rest will just be some good platforming, and at the end, Big Boo is gonna appear to try and block his way. Noah's going to slip right past him though, and tail swipe him in the face to send a message. Now the flagpole is outside, and 6-3 is complete. Okay, next on the overworld map, Noah has one final of these mystery boxes to go into. Actually, speaking of the overworld, this whole time, Noah's been doing something to save time on it. See, there are 2 ways to move to a level on the overworld map. You can either hold left or right to move around, or you can tap a level on the touchscreen to move to it. Using the touchscreen to move is actually faster. Over the whole run, it saves about 7 seconds. Anyway, he goes in this box and gets 1 more star medal. And he does some backwards long jumps while waiting, just for fun and pure swag. Okay, now it's time for 6-4. A very interesting level. I feel like I say that about everyone. A very interesting level because these platforms appear and disappear with the beeps in the music. This makes it cycle-based, and the main cycle he'll be trying to hit is on these blocks right here, in the third room of the level. So we'll need some clean movement throughout the stage. He starts off well and grabs the first star medal with a tail swipe. In the next room, a twirl boosted jump plus 2 wall jumps gets him up here to grab the second medal. And now we enter the third room. The cycle's coming up. He approaches from the left side here, so he can jump up the slanted side of this block, and just barely gets up in time. Let's watch that back in slow motion. Very tight cycle here. Speaking of tight, now he does some long jumps off these single blocks between all these spinning spikes. Tanuki lets him flutter past most of the rest, but yeah, spikes everywhere in this end section. And that takes care of 6-4. Now we're at the end of World 6. Another airship is upon us. This one is another auto-scroller, so we can expect some more off-screen gameplay. Here he goes. Actually, no. Before, I mentioned how the star medals don't load unless they're on screen. This stage doesn't have any spots where the camera jumps to Mario, so to collect the star medals, you need to wait for the camera to load them, and it's faster to get them all than to skip them and get others. A bit unfortunate, but he is able to collect a backup Tanuki leaf while he waits. He doesn't need the boomerang flower anymore, so that'll come in handy in case he takes damage anywhere. And he took damage somewhere. Here's what happened. We are able to go ahead of the camera a little bit at the end here, but we have these spike pillars we need to play around. You have to make your way past each one when the coast is clear. The last star medal is up here at the top. You can grab it since the camera is close enough, and then head straight to the pipe over here. Noah jumped up a little too early and took damage from this spike. He's still able to successfully collect the star medal though, and then he long jumps over to the pipe and collects the backup Tanuki leaf he just got to power back up. This might be the biggest mistake in the run, or at least it's the most glaring. Inside the pipe, we have a mini-boss fight. It's not Boom Boom this time, it's Pom Pom, his female counterpart. She throws boomerangs at you. Noah dodges the boomerang and stomps on her head. Same as with Boom Boom, we want to stomp for the first 2 hits. Alright, now are you ready for the optimal way to fight Pom Pom? It's hilarious, and also just the actual way to fight her fast. She'll rise up and slam down wherever you are. If you're farther away, she'll take longer to reach you before slamming down. So it's best to stay close to her, and you can do this by just crouch walking around. For the last hit, we again want to do a tail swipe for a faster animation. And that's World 6 done. 2 more worlds to go. And World 7 is going to start off strong. You guys are not prepared for this. 7-1 has the biggest skip in the game. Here we go. Yep, that was the whole level. It's the biggest skip, but not necessarily the hardest skip. You really can just jump straight to the end. You're supposed to fall down, and it's a super slow water level. There's 109 star medals in the run, right? So we can skip 9 of them. 3 of those are in this level, because it's just so fast to go straight to the flagpole. Alright, on to 7-2. This is a level I especially don't think you can truly appreciate just by watching. It's mostly going to be just solid movement, but like, even this angle right at the start, it's just hard to get. It's hard to not get hit by any of these enemies. Noah does an immaculate crouch boost right here. Then the angle to long jump out of this window is hard. Plus, if you bonk on the wall, you can fall straight down and die. Over here, Noah does a nice angled wall jump to the door. In the next room, again, it'll mostly just be good movement. But he does have to manage these tilting platforms. He tail swipes this chain chomp out of the way, and then there's a lot of jumping through here while dodging spikes. This part does visually just look really cool. Outside, right at the end, he tilts this platform up so he can do a crouch boost off the other end of it and reach the flag. Okay, time now for 7-4. This level is supposed to be like a clock. You go inside, traverse some tunnels, come out the back, and warp to this room where you make your way along these rotating platforms. Noah will be doing none of that. He does a crouch boost right at the start, wall jumps up here, and wall jumps again for the star medal. He makes it onto this platform in time to jump off of it right when it starts moving again. That gives him a momentum boost to help him make it up here with a wall jump. Now, he jumps when he's right next to this Morty mole, so he can get an instant bounce off of his head to collect the star medal. And then in the second room, he pretty simply just long jumps and flutters to get past most of it, grabbing the final star medal along the way. Straight to the flag, and that's 7-4. Alright, 7-5 is awesome. The start is fairly straightforward, just some well planned out long jumps. And a bounce off a Goomba to make it over to the first star medal. And then the next section is also mostly some well-executed long jumps, navigating the grinders and Goombas. Alright, now here, the ending is the really cool part. Normally, it's a long platform ride, and saws cut away the platforms as you ride. We definitely are not just going to hang around waiting for this though. Here's what Noah does. He uses the Goombas as stepping stones. He gets the appropriate height bounce off of this one to collect the star medal, and lands on this little pillar. He intended to long jump off of it, but just got a regular jump instead. So a little slower than normal, but yeah, he still bounces off this Goomba and skips the entire thing. Love that part. And yeah, that's it for 7-5. He makes it to the end. Okay, this has been a pretty quick world, I feel like. We're already at the airship. This will be another auto-scroller, but this time we do have off-screen gameplay. In fact, here we go. Noah's going to do the entire level off-screen. There it is. He makes it to where the ending pipe is, and the camera jumps over to him. The third star medal is up here, so he's able to collect it before going in the pipe. And the first star medal was right at the start, so he was able to get that one as well. He was essentially able to play this whole level blind because you can skip the auto-scroll at the cost of 1 star medal. You reach the pipe close to 30 seconds faster doing this, and then lose 14 or so from having to get an extra star medal somewhere else. So overall, a net gain of around 15 seconds. I know we couldn't see anything he was doing during it though, so here's a side-by-side so you can see what he was doing off-screen during all of that. Thankfully, a lot of it is a straight line, but it's still tough to get lined up, and do all of it off of only sound cues without any tiny error throwing it all off. Alright, time for the boss battle now. Will it be Boom Boom or Pom Pom? How about both? Noah quickly hits both of them, and then goes to a pre-planned spot. This is so when Boom Boom bounces around the room, he'll end up right next to Pom Pom, and he can quickly stomp on both their heads in succession. Rinse and repeat, and that's a quick boss battle. World 7, done. Which means we've made it to World 8, the final world, and without a doubt, the hardest world. 8-1's not too bad, but the rest are crazy. Here at the start of 8-1, there's a star medal up top. You're supposed to hit this red block to build a bridge. Noah just jumps to grab it right out of the air though, and flutters back on. In the next room, he has to go up a down escalator, and it is as difficult as it sounds. It's really easy to lose all your speed on the way up. Next, he wall jumps up here to where the second star medal is, and then does a nice crouch boost to this warp box. The last room is just a long downward section. Lots of long jumps. There's a cannon at the bottom you're supposed to use to get the star medal and go to the flagpole. Instead, Noah just jumps off the side to grab the medal and flutters over to the flag. Okay, with 8-1 done, we have 8-2 next. This is one of the craziest levels. And the thing is, this should be a very boring level. The gimmick is riding these moving poles to get over big gaps. There's one at the start here, another one over here going between these torches, and one at the end to get over to where the flagpole is. But once again, Noah is doing none of that. First, he wall jumps up onto this pole at the start to get up the ledge and get the first star medal. Next, there's this enemy called a prongo. These will jump at you and get stuck in the ground, at which point you can stomp on them. They also can be flipped over by hitting them with your tail. And actually, you can long jump at them, then swipe your tail, and instantly bounce off of them. Noah does that here to get enough height and distance to make it to this torch, and he long jumps off of it to skip the first pole. He also turns the camera to the left amidst all this to unload these rotating platforms and change where they'll be when he reaches them. He next crouch boosts off this fence to flutter over here with a beautiful angle, and he's lined up the platforms perfectly to grab this star medal and then jump up right after. Over here, he long jumps and holds up to make Mario move sideways and get around these poles. He then jumps up here, swipes a prongo out of the way, and now this is one of the hardest parts of the run. He bypasses this pole and does a twirl boosted jump. He does an angled wall jump off this already angled wall, and then another well-angled wall jump, all to land on this tiny torch that's jutting out of the wall. He wall jumps up one more time to get onto a higher torch, and then long jump flutters over the rest of them. With that behind him, he does a crouch boost off this torch, grabs the last star medal, and then one more well-angled jump will skip the last pole and get him near the end. He does one final jump off this fence to the flagpole, and that is 8-2. A truly crazy level. Alright, moving on, we have 8-4 now. Another ghost house, and another really crazy level. This is going to be another one of those situations where it's supposed to essentially be filled with auto-scrollers. You wait on all kinds of platforms to move, and it takes forever. But Noah's going to do almost none of that. He does have to wait on this first platform for a little while, but as soon as possible, he jumps off of it, over to this floating block. That lets him long jump over here, where he lets this platform move just slightly before jumping off of it. Now, you'll notice he turned the camera to the left. That's so these stone walls load in later and are in the correct places so he can jump through here like some kind of ninja warrior course. Over here, he does a crouch boost right into the second medal. And once again, waits just a tiny bit for this last platform to move, so he can jump off of it and reach this floating block. After long jumping off of it, and the next one, he nabs the final star medal out of the air, dodging all the boos, and flutters down to the exit door. That was definitely another very precarious World 8 level. And at this point, we can notice he's officially on sub 53 pace. Hold it together just a few more levels. Next up is 8-5. Carrying on the tradition of there being no floor, this level features the red and blue flipping panels again. Noah plans his opening jumps, so over here, he can grab the first star medal and crouch boost off this panel to quickly flutter all the way over here. He grabs and climbs the left side of this pole so he can jump off quickly. And now, over here, these rocky wrench enemies become stepping stones toward the next two star medals. The final star medal is inside this purple box. Now, you wouldn't think this to be the case, but every jump Noah does while inside this box still affects the panels outside. Noah has to make sure he keeps track of this and has them set up properly to navigate the ending. Over here at the end is going to be one of the coolest crouch boosts in the run. Check this out. Ah, man, it's so satisfying. He had to crouch a bit extra long to fall far enough so he could flutter under these platforms. The propeller on the bottom of this platform is especially easy to run into. But Noah nailed it, and now he's on to the World 8 castle, ready for another run-in with Bowser. Alright, now prepare yourself, because there's a very important strategy Noah's going to do right at the start of this level. Rather than going forward, the strategy involves going backward. Alright, let's hold our breath and see how it goes.
Dude, I just really hope I get the skip at the start. If I don't, this is gonna be real bad. Unbelievable. GG's. Big rip in the chat.
Yeah, so this is on purpose. This is the very important strategy. Noah's dying a bunch intentionally to make a special power-up appear. If you die 10 times in one level, then you can get a P-Wing. It's kind of silly, but this is the most powerful item in the game. And we gotta go fast, baby. Dying 5 times also makes an invincibility leaf appear, which gives you a special white Tanuki suit that's immune to damage. This is very convenient, so we can be back in Tanuki form. And we can use the invincibility to save extra time in this level. Noah does a cool hit on both blocks at the same time here, and quickly collects both of these uber power-ups. And he's off to the races with his newfound power. He navigates through here and long jumps over to this star medal. Because he's invincible, he's able to spin around this pole and not get hurt by the lava pillars. That lets him wall jump up to save time. Then over here, he's also immune to these spikes. Over here, he's going to ride a platform upward, and then we'll see the second star medal. Noah plows right through this boomerang bro and wall jumps up after collecting it. Now, for this next section, there's these appearing platforms, and then a warp box over to where Bowser is. Noah instead does a crouch boost and flutters all the way over here. And right on cue, there's Bowser. No Tanuki tail this time, it's the real Bowser. Once again, we're just going to run past him as he does his scripted actions. And once again, thanks to our power-up made for little children, he poses no threat and we head straight for the button. Alright, Bowser's toast. With him gone, we head into this tower and up these stairs. We're finally going to rescue Peach. There she is. It's absolutely, definitely the real Peach. Wow, what? I really thought that was her. Nope, Bowser's back again somehow. And also, once again, Bowser is a black magic wielder. Okay, we can see him just flying away here. Alright, that's enough moping around, Mario. We've got some cool flying powers of our own. After him! That's the end of 8 Castle, and Noah is solidly on sub 53 pace. At this point, a new path opens up, and after a screen transition, there's a little cutscene that shows Bowser taking Peach away. Instead of watching this, Noah resets the game as soon as it starts saving. And after reloading into the game, the cutscene doesn't play. This saves 2 seconds. Alright, there's 2 more levels to play. The first of them is 8-6, a level with a healthy amount of lava, plus it features several apparatuses. Apparati? Which you're supposed to make turn in order to reach star medals, and progress over the lava and through the level. But once again, Noah is doing none of that. He navigates through the beginning before fluttering down here and getting a momentum boost off of this wall-up enemy. After grabbing the star medal, he long jumps to this warp box to the second room. Now, he's going to do a sneaky twirl jump around this wallop, skip this plus sign looking thing by long jump fluttering over here, and skip this cylinder thing as well. Here, there's a star medal inside this platform, and underneath a pillar of fire. But we've got a Tanuki tail, so we're fine. Noah grabs it with a tail swipe, and now we've got a terrifying flutter to barely clear this lava. He skips raising this platform up with some wall jumps, and then makes his way along this final cylinder to where the third star medal is. This warp box takes us to the end, and with a little crouch boost to the flagpole, 8-6 is done. Which means we're here. The final level. This is Bowser's Castle. Noah has a perfect 100 star medal count to be able to unlock it. Let's head on in and secure this sub 53 world record run. Bowser's Castle starts with this bone coaster. After a bit, it comes down here, goes around the corner, and eventually all the way down to this platform where you get off. But Noah's not trying to spend an hour on Mr. Bones' wild ride here. Instead, he's going to do one final instance of hyperspeed. He builds up speed as he falls down this tunnel, and then he can start a flutter to maintain that speed. And now, with some very beautiful angles, navigate all the way down to the platform, barely dodging the lava. After the platform goes up, he's going to cut this corner and long jump over to a second bone coaster. This time, we just have to wait until it's over. You might see some star medals along the way in this level, but we don't need them anymore. We just need to rescue Peach. Alright, Noah hops off as soon as he can at the end, and he makes his way up these stairs to this cannon. There's actually going to be 2 cannon shots in a row here, which will take you all the way up to Bowser's Tower for the final showdown. The first cannon shot is very lenient. You can easily just shoot with no real risk of landing anywhere bad. The second one, however, this one is actually pretty precise. A little too low and you smash into the wall. A little too high and you don't make it up. So yeah, this cannon shot is pretty terrifying on world record pace. But Noah still aims and shoots very fast, no hesitation. He comes over here to enter the doors to Bowser's Tower, and this is it. Mario's fight with Bowser. A battle for the ages. The climax of the entire game. Yeah, so remember that P-Wing in Reserve? What P-Wings do is take you to the end of a level when you use them. This final level is actually so long though that a P-Wing will only skip half of it. You can either skip the first half and be taken to the Bowser fight, or play to the Bowser fight yourself and skip that. But yeah, this level is so long that it's faster to die 10 times in a previous level and get a P-Wing, just to skip half of it. And it saves a lot of time, like upwards of 40 seconds. I do understand that it's a little lame, but it's also hilarious just how anticlimactic of an ending it is. Mario's just like, peace out, Bowser. I don't have time for this. I have to get a 52. Speaking of which, Noah makes his way over to Peach. He's going to do one more twirl boost jump over to her. The funny thing about this jump is if you don't make sure to let go of crouch before pushing jump, you'll do a twirl jump straight into the pit. But that doesn't happen. Noah closes it out and gets the first ever 52 in this game. 52-57, an amazing run. For how small the community is especially, this is such a clean and impressive run. Great job to him. Alright, that was the run. I love this run, and I think it's really underrated, but also just unknown. So I'm glad I could share it with you, and I hope you've enjoyed learning about it. As promised, though, I'm not done yet. I have a few more things to show you, some really insane stuff. While working on this video, I went through the entire run and tested ideas to find new strategies and time saves. Plus, there were a few already known things that weren't included in this run. Let me share the coolest and most significant strategies with you. They just look awesome. You've got to see them. And then there will even be one more thing to show you after this. All right, this part's gonna be a bit rapid fire, but yeah, here we go. All the biggest and coolest strategies that weren't included in Noah's Run. Starting with 3-2. Right up front, we'll have probably the coolest trick that was recently found. Actually, it was found years ago, but we didn't realize it was useful until now. Here in 3-2, there's actually a wall clip, one of very few clips we know of in this game. It's been known for a long time that if you're Small Mario, you can swim into the ceiling right here, collect a power-up to grow Big Mario's head up through the ceiling, and then immediately bounce off this Cheep Cheep to get boosted out of bounds. That's cool and all, but that means we'd have to take damage twice to be Small Mario. And what does this clip do for us exactly? There is this star medal that you have to kind of slowly swim into the tunnel and back out for, and we did know you could collect this star medal from out of bounds, but that alone wouldn't make this clip worth doing. What I didn't realize before last month is that you can stay out of bounds for the rest of the level. And that means a couple things. First, you can swim up to the very top of the water to repeatedly jump out of it and move faster. But also, you can come straight up here to the top where the final star medal is. This skips the long vertical tunnel with the eel. Even after realizing you could do this, I still wasn't sure if the clip would be worth it. So I made a comparison video. And imagine my surprise when the wall clip came out 6 seconds faster than playing the level normally. This clip we thought was useless for years turned out to be a huge new time save, and it's going to be awesome when it finds its way into the next world record run. Alright, next up is the very next level, 3-3. You may be quite surprised to find out that one of the biggest places I figured out how to save time is right here. One of the most straightforward, mundane parts of the run. But the key here is that you have a star. And when you jump with a star, you can keep whatever speed you had before you press jump. Normally, we can only do crouch boosts with ledges, but with a star, you can basically crouch boost anywhere. You can land while holding crouch, and then release crouch and jump simultaneously. If you time it perfectly, you get a crouch boost, and then maintain that speed into the jump. Do this repeatedly, and your speed will multiply more and more and more. It is fairly hard, but if you do it well, you can save 5 or even like 7 or 8 seconds here in 3-3. Alright, next up is 5-4. This one is not something that's going to be done in runs, because it's very precise and unreliable. But I wanted to show it to you because it's really cool. You can wedge Mario between this block and the wall, and have the block push Mario out of bounds. At that point, you can kinda just jump around all of this maze section. Landing on the very edge and not coming in bounds is very tight, and so is getting out of bounds in the first place. It's not really a viable strat for runs, but it's really cool that it exists, and it would look great in a TAS. Anyway, next up is 6-1. There are actually 2 ways to save several seconds here. The first is getting the star in this roulette block, and doing more of these star slide boosts like in 3-3. That can save a few seconds here. Alternatively, Noah figured out that you can come up on this rock and twirl jump over here to this block and crouch boost off of it. Then there's an amazing series of bounces off of enemies and more crouch boosts to maintain speed across this entire bridge. The main problem with this strategy is that the jump onto this block is actually way harder than it looks. It's a super cool trick though. Alright, the next thing to share is 8-4. This is another one where there's multiple things to show. The first one is that you can start a crouch boost chain right here. And it's really tight, but you can keep building more and more speed off all these ledges. And take that right into the star medal and onto the moving platform. This actually saves about 5 seconds, which it's crazy how much it can add up to. On top of that, there are some faster ways you can do the ending. There's a star inside this block, and you know what that means. we can use it to build up some speed. And while it's not a huge chain of speed, just getting a bit extra with it lets us skip waiting on this platform to move. And you can also carry the extra speed all the way to the exit door. There's also yet another alternative method for this, where you crouch boost and start jumping across these flaming torches. A lot of potential here in this level. It'll be interesting to see what makes it into the next world record run. We do know one thing, World 8 is going to be insanely hard. And even more so because the next strategy to show is in 8-6. This is something Noah came up with. You can do a crouch boost chain in the first room to save time getting to the star medal. And then you can also do a precise crouch boost chain in the second room and bounce off this dry bones to keep the speed further. Finally, I love this drive-by star medal grab into another crouch boost. All of this together saves 6 seconds. Definitely one of the coolest looking things in the game. Alright, and the final strategy to show you is in the final level, Bowser's Castle. Going beyond the already crazy way to skip this coaster ride, I recently found a couple ways to do what we call Ultra Coaster Skip, where we can go straight to the second coaster. This again saves about 6 seconds. Seems to be the magic number with all these big tricks. But yeah, unfortunately, any method of doing this is really hard and super precise, but it looks incredible, so I definitely wanted to show you. Alright, that's the last of the really big strategies to show off for the Any% run. There are still lots of smaller things that save a second or two here and there. Plus, all of that is just in Any%. Noah plans not only to return to Any% and incorporate some of these new strategies, but also to run all the other categories. He's already tackled Warpless and gotten the first ever 58 in that category. And now he's working on Special Ending. If you didn't know, there's a whole second half of this game after beating the main quest. 50 more levels. Plus, there's another character in this game, Luigi. And Luigi plays very differently. Outside of his higher jumps, let's just say Hyperspeed is a lot more effective as Luigi. He can go so fast. These are some of the craziest strategies with Luigi. As cool as the strategies in the Any% run are, I wanted to show you that there's still a whole world out there of insane tricks and movement. I hope I've at least given you a good taste of what this game has to offer. If you like what you see, definitely go follow Noah on his Twitch and YouTube so you can see the next records in this game as he achieves them. Alright, last but not least, let's wrap up with one more clip. I think it's fitting to end this celebration of Mario 3D Land speedrunning with the ultimate form of speedrunning, tassing. Only the first 2 levels of this game have been properly tasked, but as I showed earlier in 1-1, TAS can do some special techniques to make Mario go insanely fast. I've played around with some of these techniques to make some crazy looking clips in various levels in this game. Like, just absurd looking stuff. It's just shocking the amount of speed he gets. But anyway, the very last thing I want to show you is the TAS of 1-2 by Mizu. It is so insane. Watch this. He just goes so fast. There's no other way to say it. It is a beautiful work of art, and I'm glad I could share it with you. And all of the other things in this game. This has been your intro to Mario 3D Land speedrunning. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.